close to our families, brings us close to our communities. Allow us this Ramadan to take you through a special journey.
Welcome back.
You as close as ever.
Thanks, dear.
Reality.
Thanks, Frank.
Al Abdissaalam. Come close. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.
You're in a hurry,
Repeat at 9 to 10.
You saw the one from the States?
Which one?
A lot of people who were converted there.
We missed you. Frank, we missed you and your missus, man. We thought you'll be there in the line of people.
I don't know because I was text late actually. So maybe
I even left an invite for you.
Really?
Yeah, at the station.
Just give me a sign if you're ready, guys.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Master of the Day of Judgment, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, I salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Welcome to your nation station 90.4 FM in your program Come Close with me, Hatim Al Abdissaalam, and joining me is Engineer Muhammad Farooq. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad. How are you today?
Wonderful, Hatim, but little bit late.
Alhamdulillah. It's 7 minutes late, so no worries. Now, I don't think anyone missed us, Muhammad, so it's okay. Everybody's enjoying in their house today as it is the weekend.
Yeah.
This is a live show, dear listeners, and as you know, the lines are open. You can call us and tell us what you think of the topics that we are discussing. The number to call is 2460 2058, 2460 2058. The show is going to be repeated in the evening from 9 till 10 and repeated in the following day as well from 5 till 6 a.m. And those who have missed the previous episodes, they can check out our YouTube channel, which is called Guidance. As you all know that we had a very fruitful weekend these past 2 days, as we had our guest speaker Mufti Ismail Menk, who has just left this morning. We went to the airport and we said goodbye, and we asked him to promise us to come back inshallah soon. And yesterday we had a very successful event that is somehow catering to today's topic. Yesterday we had a group iftar with all our brothers and sisters from different faiths, and it was an amazing experience. So today we're talking about serving others, and how it is important that we all live as one, serving one another, and not act and live a life of selfishness, which is pretty bad. And what we see today in terms of calamities and problems in the world, I think mainly it is derived from the selfishness that we have within ourselves, that we are seeking prosperity and development and wealth and all sorts of things for ourselves, and we stopped thinking about the others. I think if we go back to our roots, whether it is in our religious teachings, no matter what faith it is, you will find that serving others plays a huge role in the belief system. So Muhammad, where can we start off?
Basically this is one of the most needed topics, which is serving others, or the way we call it, from me to we.
Yes.
And we'll look at selfishness, that it's a egocentric lifestyle of being stingy and tight with resources and being self-centered and always thinking about yourself and not the others.
Yes.
And some of the examples are you might not praise someone when they deserve it.
Praising someone.
Rightfully, It could be you don't make dua for somebody else.
It's supplication.
Yeah, it doesn't even cross your mind. It's not like you're not doing it on purpose, but you just don't care.
And I think what you're trying to say, Muhammad, is when we're talking about serving others, we don't mean in a material way only.
Exactly. See, there are two things that we can offer as human beings. One is tangible, which is resources like tangible resources like money, wealth,
food, shelter, clothing, and all
exactly, healthcare, education. The other thing is the intangible ones, which are more precious than the tangible ones. For example, time.
Yes.
So you'll see a lot of the billionaire or millionaire philanthropists. What they do is, they'll just write a check for so many $1 million and give it to the local library or the charity or the trust or whatever. But if you ask them to actually spend time, that's very tough for them because their time is actually worth more than that money.
Yes.
In their mind, they're thinking, I can use that time to make more money. Why should I go and I should just hire somebody and take care of X, Y, Z.
Yeah. But for the people on the other side who are receiving this service, to them it makes a huge difference when you are with them.
Exactly.
Instead of them receiving only your check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, very often we see like politicians, they'll go and they'll have iftar with the needy and they'll actually sit on the floor and eat with them, and it's a huge media mileage. But this should be the norm. It should not be the exception.
It should not be only for
one-off. Yeah.
No, for media
for media propagation. Yeah, it should not be like that. A media mileage should be a byproduct of it, not the main objective.
I think, Muhammad, when it comes to serving others, even in terms of attitude and behavior,
giving advice.
Giving advice, respect. Tolerance,
exactly,
coexistence, all these values, I think they are mainly have to do with serving others.
Yeah.
Because you are not only coexisting or for yourself.
Yeah.
You're coexisting for everyone around you to live a life of comfort, a life of understanding, a safe life. So if you have these values, then you are already thinking about other people.
Exactly. So if we are not solving other people's problems, meaning we're not giving them consultancy, we're not spending time or money for them, this means like we are stingy. And if we cannot do it for one person, what makes us think that we'll be able to take care of the whole neighborhood or the society? And we need to look at this way. This is not a one-way street. Today somebody might need something from you. Times change. Tomorrow you might need something from someone. Okay, so we need to keep that in mind. Of course, we do everything for reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but on a worldly level, we need each other. That's what makes us social.
And Muhammad, if we go back to the basics, people need to understand that whatever you have and whatever status you have in this world, it is not out of your own effort.
Yeah, exactly.
It is because Allah had willed for you to have it.
And most probably it's a test for you.
Yeah. So don't be arrogant thinking that, you know what, I earned all this wealth because of my hard work and because a lot of people are working so hard. I don't think there are people working harder than our brothers, the laborers who are working in the streets under the sun, and they're working very hard. But they
harder than us.
Yeah, harder than us, and they did not accumulate the wealth. So the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has distributed wealth in humanity, He has given some of them tangible wealth, like money. Some of them He gave them health. Some of them He gave them offsprings. Some of them He gave them intelligence.
Right.
So the distribution is equally in our own area.
Exactly.
Subhanallah. Exactly. Sometimes you remember I told you about one of the wealthy people. He has a very rare disease where he cannot consume meat.
Oh.
So with all the millions that he normally has these feasts in his house, a lot of guests coming, and the maximum that he can do is just watch. Because because of this disease he cannot consume. So subhanallah, he would crave for that meat, but he can't eat it. While someone who might be sweeping the floor of his house, not having all these millions, but he can have the meat every single day.
See, every one of us is having a slightly different test, or So after looking at selfishness, let's see what's the opposite of it. There's a very nice word for it. It's called altruism. I hope I pronounced it right.
I have not heard it before.
Don't ask me to pronounce it again.
But today I think we will we're introduced to it.
Okay. No, I really found this definition to be very, very appealing. Altruism is the principle and moral practice of concern for happiness of other human beings and or animals, resulting in a quality of life, both material and spiritual. And this is, it takes a higher form when we even take a risk to ourselves to provide something for others. One is that God has blessed you with a lot, and it's just a matter of you sharing or not sharing. Another one is that you're putting yourself in risk to provide something for others. So these are two separate degrees. And one might say, okay, what's wrong with being a little bit self-centered, or pampering myself. After all, they say that in case of emergency, the mask will fall in front of you. First you put the mask on yourself, and then you put the mask on your loved ones.
Yes.
But here the things are a little bit different, because what we've seen again and again on an individual level and on nation level, that once we start becoming selfish, it takes us towards overconsumption. And this results in a lot of wastage. We've already done one episode on that in great detail. And the second thing is that we start to see a huge difference between the rich and the poor. And by the way, this is a global phenomenon. It's not just...
Before that, Muhammad, if we're only accumulating it for ourselves, we start developing greed.
Yeah, exactly.
Greed is where you have enough but you want more.
Yeah.
And you don't care whether these resources belong to someone else or not,
and how you get them, right or
and
wrong, whatever.
This is the problem today in this world.
Exactly. So balance is the key. And
tell us the two things that you just mentioned, Muhammad.
First one is overconsumption directly or indirectly destroys the environment. The more we consume, the more we produce, the more waste there is, the more pollution it results in, deforestation, overfishing, overhunting, hunting for fun, not for food. Okay.
Even if you look at, Muhammad, the size of the houses that we live in today,
exactly,
it's I think
beyond our need,
oversized.
Yeah,
because previously you just needed a shelter, a place to sleep, and have your affairs.
Very modest dwelling, yeah.
Very modest. But today you would find someone, for example, with one child or two, and they have like 9 bedrooms in a house, which is over resources, while others in a neighboring area, they don't have even one room.
Exactly.
Or they are squeezed.
Yeah, or they're living in slums.
Slums.
Exactly.
So
this is very unfortunate, and then you have to spend a lot of money to keep that residence cool and heated and clean. You have to get extra staff to take care of that maintenance. Yeah. So you have like 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, and you have 5 bathrooms, and that's the level of water that you're using. So it all adds up. A few people pay attention to this thing, and the other factor was the difference between the rich and the poor, which is growing alarmingly. If you look at the global statistics,
I don't know if you remember, growing up we had something called middle class.
Yeah, it's
vanishing. Somehow vanishing now, because the gap is becoming bigger and bigger between the poor and the rich, while the absence of the middle class. Because if you notice that the middle class, they are the working class.
They drive the society.
They are close to the rich, and also very close to the poor. And most of the people who donate to the poor are the middle class.
Exactly.
And not the rich.
Agreed.
Unfortunately.
And I'll touch upon one example on a global level after a while on the same thing.
Those middle class, they feel of comfort in the society that, we have people who are neutral.
Exactly. And it's called the bell curve, in mathematical terms.
They are neutral. The poor are comfortable with them, and even the rich are comfortable with them as well. So being in the middle class is a good thing, I think. And we're not saying, I don't want people to understand me wrong. We're not saying that it is evil to be rich, or it is bad.
It's not.
But we're going to talk about how the intention should be for someone to be rich and wealthy.
Exactly. Yeah. So like when we were, driving here, you mentioned that we are encouraged to stay connected with the way we call them less privilege. So like you were saying that a lot of things, the expiation for missing out on something, is actually feeding the poor.
Yes.
And how can you feed the poor? You have to get near to them. You might sit with them. You might eat with them.
And this
you should eat with
this
them.
is a command from God. So
Exactly.
if you commit something wrong against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would have been very easier for Allah to say to us, just repent.
Exactly.
But actually most of the commands in the Quran says that you first you have to repent of the mistake you have done, and then there is an expiation.
Exactly.
Like a fee for this mistake that you have done.
Exactly.
Which is most of the time feeding the poor.
Exactly.
And this is a lesson from God, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaching us that you will not feel the severity of what you have done unless you
it's attached to something you love.
You get out, or you release something that is so dear to your heart.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's anything dear to our heart more than wealth.
Yeah.
We're yet to see people in this world who don't love money.
Yeah.
Everybody loves money. Everybody loves wealth.
You say you can never have enough love and money, yeah?
Yeah.
So I think there might be truth to it. Like if we refer to Quran, which is a book of guidance for the whole mankind, and this is Ramadan, it's the month of Quran. In chapter 3, verse 180, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And let not those who are stingy with that which Allah has bestowed on them of His bounty, that is the wealth, think that it is good for them. No, it will be worse for them." Okay, so we've seen generally like stingy people, they don't even give zakah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let us analyze this verse, Muhammad. The first thing Allah is talking about only one category, which is the stingy.
Stingy, yeah.
Yeah, and then He's reminding those that whatever you have
is a blessing from Him. Actually,
is actually from Allah, because He's the one who distributes these wealth.
Exactly.
And then the third part of the verse, what does it say?
They think it's good for them, but no, it's worse for them. Actually.
Yes, thinking that this wealth is good for them.
Yeah.
If I keep it, the more I keep it for myself, then it's better. And there are two types of stingy people, Muhammad. I don't know if you notice. The first type, which is the worst type of stingy people, is the one that is even stingy towards themselves.
Correct.
So he would starve himself to death while he has millions in the account, and he doesn't mind seeing his children screaming out of hunger while he has these millions under his pillow. That's the first type. The second type of stingy people, who are pampering themselves, living a life of luxury, but this is only for me.
Yeah.
I don't care about the poor and needy. It's not my responsibility.
Exactly.
I'm not the one who brought them in this world, and I'm not the cause
responsible for them. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not responsible for them, and I wasn't the cause for them to be poor, so it's not my job.
Yeah, I worked hard for money. I deserve it, and it's mine. I'll spend it the way I want. Now, it's something very interesting when you mentioned the first category. There's a saying, miser is a person who lives poor and dies rich. He doesn't even spend on himself, like you were saying.
Yeah, and most of the cases, Muhammad, you find, even in our local community, you would hear of a poor person pass away, and then suddenly they realize he had like farms and lands and bank accounts, and you would wonder, where was this wealth all this time, and
who
nobody
he was saving
knows
it for. Yeah.
Who is he saving it for?
Exactly.
And I would like to share a story, Muhammad. And this is a true story that happened in a neighboring country.
Okay.
A multi-millionaire passed away. So in Islam, the law of inheritance, it goes first to your children, or your wife, or your parents, or your brothers, and if they don't find, they go to the next, like cousins and so on. So they searched and looked, for relatives of this person. He had no parents, he had no wife, no children, no brothers, no sisters. So, and he left 300 million.
Wow.
So they were very, they were stuck. What to do with all this money? And they started looking in the database of this of the government, and they found that he has 3 relatives, 3 brothers, but they are like the 3rd or 4th cousin. And they said Islamically, those are the closest, so they will have to inherit this money. And these 3 were almost poor or middle class, so they were called to the court. And the judge spoke to them and said, "You know what? Do you know this person?" And they said, yes, I think he's our relative, but from a distance. And the judge said, he passed away, and this guy passed away. And they said, well, we didn't actually know him because he doesn't interact with anyone, he doesn't help anyone, he doesn't visit anyone, he doesn't come to our funerals, he doesn't come to our weddings, so he's an isolated figure. So the judge said, well, he left an inheritance of 300 million, and now you're the only three relatives,
survivors, so to speak.
Yes, relatives, and each one of you was going to inherit 100 million. And they were shocked, and they were in tears, and they were, they couldn't believe in suddenly they became extremely rich. So before leaving the court, after they received their checks, the judge said, you know what, I would like to ask each one of you a favor. I would like to ask each one of you to donate 1 million.
Out of the 100 million each.
Out of the 100 million.
Okay.
So that we can build a huge mosque and a Quran school for the children, so that it is like a reward for this deceased.
Yeah.
And the three of them, they refused. They said, no, sorry, we don't have enough money. And then one of them said something very important. He said, if he did not spend in the way of Allah to serve others when he was alive, how can he expect people to serve on his behalf when he is dead?
Subhanallah.
So it's his problem that he did not do it while he's alive. This is our money now. We don't care. We don't want to build a mosque for him. We'll build a mosque for ourselves.
Very strong moral, Very strong moral of the story.
And the thing is, now we keep on keeping these wealth and accumulating, thinking that, you know what, this is mine. But guess what? Someone else is going to spend it.
Yeah, that's true. This is reality.
This is coming to spend it, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. And lucky and wise are the people who are exposed to this reality and who accept this reality, and they do something about this reality.
Yeah, and it's pity, Muhammad, especially in some of the communities, maybe in other countries, where you find someone who's a lone person. He doesn't have a family, and he has a pet like a dog, and then he has millions, and then he writes the inheritance to the dog, while there are millions of people starving and dying in his own streets. You have people who are homeless, people who don't have food to eat, and you write like the entire inheritance goes to the dog.
That's
which
why
is so crazy, man.
Guidance is very important.
I'm not saying that we should not be kind to our pets and this, but we should be rational in our thinking as well. I think we have a call, Muhammad.
Okay, sure.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Oh,
Brother Ahmed, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine,
Wonderful.
thank you. Alhamdulillah, it's nice to hear from you.
Yeah, so how's Ramadan with you? It's
Good.
almost over.
It's almost over, man.
Yeah, I know. Very interesting topic. I just want to share like a story. Actually, it's not a story, but a kind of experiment that a guy conducted with a beggar. So he gave him some money.
Yes.
And and then this guy was expecting the beggar to go and get something bad, like maybe alcohol or something like that. And for his surprise, he found that the beggar was buying the stuff and giving them to other poor people.
Subhanallah.
So he couldn't believe, what he saw. That shows the level of putting yourself in other people's shoes, because he went through this struggle and he knows other people who was suffering as well. So you were talking about the idea that sometimes middle class or poor people tend to give back, because they realize the importance of giving. And also, the idea of giving is not necessarily related to money. You can give with your knowledge to people. If you're a doctor, you should give that knowledge to people so that they can benefit medically about life. Or if you are an engineer, you'll do the same thing. If you are an educator, you'll have to do the same thing.
Correct.
And unfortunately, we have seen a lot of people who are misers when it comes to giving back their knowledge to the people. They keep it for themselves. They don't like to share. They don't like to educate people. They keep everything for themselves. So it's not only financially, but even in terms of other disciplines of life.
Right. Agreed.
Subhanallah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Whether
thank
the
you.
whether the
well said.
whether the resources are tangible or intangible.
Okay, guys.
Thank you,
so
Ahmed.
much for
Thank
the
you,
very
Ahmed.
interesting topic, and I wish you all the best.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, and thanks for your call. We really appreciate the value that you
take care.
add.
Bye.
Okay, Jazakallah. So if we look at the few steps how we can address this thing and
Before
curtail
that,
it. Yeah.
Muhammad,
Mhm.
Ahmed said something very important. Is even for those who are less privileged and don't have money
Mhm.
to give other people who are less privileged, there are lots of means of ways to give back
Mhm.
to the society, and we have noticed this, that there are a lot of knowledgeable people in our society or
Mhm.
community,
Mhm.
but they are very stingy and they keep it to themselves, and they have this concept that, you know what, I'll just keep this to myself to be unique.
Otherwise, I'll have competition.
I'll have competition, which is crazy, man. It's
the
not
whole
even
world is moving
logical.
towards collaboration, and we are hiding our stuff.
Yes, and I would like to mention also something very important. The most expensive piece of land on earth is the graveyard,
Mhm.
where you have a lot of people who passed away with their knowledge, with the books that have not been written, with poetry that has not been created, or inventions. They concealed this for themselves, and they thinking that one day they're going to do it, and it never went
Exactly.
out.
Exactly.
Just imagine if you've written a book and you passed away, and then people generations after generations benefited from that book.
Mhm. How
You know,
much
how
reward
much
you would
reward
get,
would
yeah.
you get?
Yeah, exactly.
So why wait until the day comes when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes your life away, and then you start panicking?
Mhm.
Why don't you do it now? Why don't you give back to the society
Yeah,
now?
don't procrastinate.
Why don't you teach people? I remember, Muhammad, I'll give you an example. In the 90s,
Mhm.
when we just graduated from high school, we were a bunch of brothers and sisters. We made a charity organization, and we didn't have money because we were not employed. We didn't have any money to give people, to the poor. So we said, you know what, each one of us has a set of skills. Someone knows mathematics, someone knows English, someone knows Arabic. We'll give free classes to the poor.
Skills, yeah.
Bring the children who are less privileged, give them free lessons so that they can develop and progress in their studies and become successful.
Correct.
And that is a way to give back to the society. You don't have to pay
Exactly.
any money.
Exactly. See, generally we are told that most of us are blessed with two currencies. One is time and one is money. And it's variable for every single one of us. We don't know when we're going to die, and we don't know how much our risk is, our sustenance. But the best way forward is to have a balanced approach.
Yeah. Muhammad, like recently we had very heavy rains in Oman.
Mhm.
And you saw a lot of young people very energetic in these areas, in Sharqiya.
Mhm.
They knew that it is the job of the government to clean up and help and rescue, but they were part of the system, helping out, serving the community, helping those who are in need. Let us take this call, Muhammad.
Sure.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Hi again, guys.
Welcome.
I'm sorry,
Ahmed.
but you just talked about a very important thing. But I just want to add one thing to the idea of giving back when it comes to knowledge.
Mhm.
Yes.
Is that there is this kind of phenomenon that started to invade the society.
Yes.
Like people that have started to connect between being humble and being, generous when it comes to giving your knowledge, to the community. I don't think that there's a problem in sharing your knowledge to the public, to show that you're knowledgeable about something. You might be a source that people rely on when it comes to a certain discipline.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of people that have noticed these days, they try to sort of hide, whatever they know, because they don't like to be called showing off, or, people are trying to tell people that they know everything. And this is something ridiculous, that I've seen with a lot of people, and we need to change that attitude. we need to make sure that this knowledge is shared, because we need to have people that we rely on when it comes to certain disciplines. So we need to change that attitude. I just wanted to interject with that idea.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, guys.
No, Ahmed, please don't. We really appreciate the value that you add and the time that you invest in our show. To answer...
You're welcome,
Okay. To answer to you, we have seen a movement here, at least in Oman, on a higher, especially corporate level, where a lot of the companies, including, the one I'm associated with, they have introduced this knowledge transfer initiative. And they're trying to capture the knowledge of people who've been there for X number of years. They might leave, they might switch companies, and their experiences, their educational backgrounds, whatever they can capture through interviews and other repositories. And I was blessed to be part of the team that led that project. Above and beyond the normal job responsibilities. And it was a wonderful experience. We got to visit one of the top companies here in energy sector. We saw what they're doing, how advanced they are. We went to one of the leading educational entity over here. So there was a lot of open and friendly knowledge sharing amongst ourselves, and then we took the best of the best and we implemented it in our company.
What I wanted to add, Muhammad and Ahmed, is that when it comes to serving others, we as believers, we need to be proactive.
Exactly.
So do not wait until someone comes and asks you for that knowledge, for that money, for that food. Be proactive. If you see someone like in your office, he is not doing well, he needs coaching. Don't wait for him to come and ask you, Muhammad, can you please help me in this? Be proactive and you lead. And you go and coach them without them asking. And that is the highest level of piety and understanding of the concept of serving others.
Exactly. And
most of the time, it's humiliating, Muhammad, for someone to come and ask you.
Exactly. And we've been told of an incident, I don't know who exactly it relates to, that one person came and asked another one for money, and this guy started to cry. And he said, I'm sorry, I asked you for some help and you're crying. And he said, I'm crying because I should have known. Why we reached a point where you actually had to ask me. I should have known this, like you said, proactively.
Yes.
So we have moved a lot from the...
And you witness this, Muhammad, when it comes to the month of Ramadan. And most of the people pay out their zakah, their charity in Ramadan. So they start panicking. And they start making calls, do you know anyone who is poor?
Yeah.
While they should have done their homework throughout the year.
And they should have known throughout the year.
Yeah. So don't wait until the last minute and rely on someone else to tell you where the poor is.
Exactly.
It means a lot.
Start with your family, with your neighborhood, with the local masjid, and then start moving.
It means a lot for you to go out of your comfort zone and go to the poor neighborhoods and find out who is in need.
Yeah.
And when you ask the people of the mosque, when you ask the community, they would guide you to the homes of those who are poor. So do not allow the poor and the needy to be humiliated and leave their homes and stand in the streets and beg. Yeah,
exactly.
You wouldn't want to be in that place.
Exactly.
So why do you allow your brothers and sisters to beg, especially the sisters who are in need? You don't want your sister to be standing on the streets, waiting for people to give her a sack of rice or to ask for money and support. You should be very, very proactive and save the dignity of these people.
Exactly. So now we can look at some of the steps when it comes to facilitating how you can start serving others, how it becomes easy for you.
Yes.
First, obviously, is you supplicate to God Almighty to soften your heart. Second, you start a self-audit. See what are the things when you try to do, you pull your hand back. Is it money? Is it time? Is it something else? Why it is? And try to rectify it by addressing the root cause. Other one is stop taking credit for good deeds and try to hide them. Not everything should be done for a picture in the newspaper. Okay.
Yes.
Next.
I want to go back to that point, Muhammad.
Okay.
Yeah, taking pictures in the newspaper with the selfie
culture
that we have now. You know, a lot of people are doing good things for their Instagram page. Okay, guess what? It's not good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, conceal it.
exactly.
At least conceal the dignity of those who are
Yeah.
you are giving.
Yeah, see, my
You know,
take-
you don't want to make yourself more popular
exactly.
on the account of someone else who is in need.
Okay, you know, they say innamal amalu binniyat, that the deeds depend on the intentions. So
Yes.
my take on this thing is, if you're trying to help someone individual, then you know the way it's said that your left hand should not know what your right hand is given.
Yes.
But if it's already an announced cause for a collective, not an individual, like an orphanage, like a rehab center or whatever, then it's okay if you are there in a group and it's everybody's doing to encourage each other.
The worst
But still,
thing-
your intention should
The
be
worst
straight.
thing, Muhammad, that I see in some of our local newspapers, and it has stopped now, is where you find this huge corporation, and they are giving an envelope to someone who's standing there and taking a picture of
Mhm.
him and posting it on the newspaper. If you want to help someone, especially a family, do not expose them
Yeah.
in local news. Okay, do it in private. You know, you can have an article in the newspaper that this company has
Supported 50 families.
50 families.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with that. It is your right to as an
To encourage
industry,
others
to
also.
encourage
Yeah.
others. But don't go putting a picture of a poor person receiving an envelope, and he's supposed to kiss your hand or what. This is nonsense.
You're hurting
And
his
it's-
dignity. Yeah.
You're hurting people's dignity, and then
Exactly.
everyone who sees them on the street, they would recognize, oh, this is the poor who got the envelope we saw in the newspaper.
Mhm.
I don't think that is right.
Exactly.
Morally, I don't think it is right.
Yeah, that should be avoided. Yeah. So next one is spend some time, effort, skills through welfare work for people who can't pay you back. Okay, this is the caveat. Don't be nice to someone in which you're expecting, okay, next year, he's going to be this manager and he will return a favor to me. Again, that's going to ruin your intention and you won't get any reward for it. The next thing is give money above and beyond zakah every month. So stay connected to it. Don't make it a yearly exercise where you do all your assets and liabilities in Ramadan, which is very good. That's for zakat calculation. That's mandatory. But above and beyond what we call voluntary charity, you should make it a practice to do it like every week or every month or even on a daily basis.
Even the practice that we have on when we go to Friday prayers,
Mhm.
people become very generous.
Exactly.
In Friday prayers, they put the money in the boxes to support the mosque, to build the mosque, to
Weekly,
to feed the poor.
Exactly.
Have this habit that
Yeah.
every time you go to pray Friday, you have
Yeah.
have money putting in the
Exactly.
box.
Weekly.
You have 52 weeks
Mhm.
per year,
Mhm.
and just imagine every Friday you put 1 riyal.
Mhm.
That's 52 riyals. It
Exactly.
doesn't cost you nothing.
Exactly.
But the reward of that, if I put 1 riyal and you 1 riyal and someone else
Mhm.
1 riyal,
Mhm.
and this huge number of people who are turning up for Friday prayers,
Mhm.
then it makes a huge difference.
Exactly.
And the best thing about this, Muhammad, that you are not obliged to do this.
Yeah, it's voluntary.
While zakah, you have to pay,
Yeah.
and it's a sin
If you
don't pay.
Yeah.
So Allah loves those who are doing things voluntarily,
Mhm. And little by little, but regularly.
but regularly.
That's also hadith. So this is wonderful. You just gave an excellent example of what we call crowdfunding
Yes.
or online crowdfunding. Where people give like $1 each or 5 or 10 or whatever.
You are mentioning the things that you should do and you shouldn't do, Muhammad.
Mhm.
I want to add one more thing, if
Okay.
you allow me.
Sure.
There is a word called in Arabic man.
Okay.
Man means, for example, if Muhammad, you are wealthy and you help me with 5 riyals, and then tomorrow you come and remind me, Hatim, you know that I helped you.
Mhm.
That is called in Arabic man.
Okay.
It is like you're reminding me of the favors that you did.
Mhm.
And this is the worst thing a person could do.
Exactly.
And Allah does not accept, no matter how much millions you pay,
Mhm.
if you remind people of what you have done for them,
Mhm.
then your charity just evaporates.
See, this makes the thing even more like a landmine. That first of all, most people are selfish.
Yes.
They don't believe in serving others. Then even if we try to serve others, these are the minimum things we have to be careful of,
Yes.
so that even after serving we don't lose everything.
Subhanallah.
Everything meaning intention, sincerity and reward.
And when it comes to this, I want to also mention one segment of people. Those families who are sponsoring orphans, who are taking orphans who have no homes and raising them in their homes. And when they grow up, they start telling them, you know what, you should be thankful
I did this
that I gave you a shelter, that I took care of you, that I gave you a home, that I fed you, that I took you to the best schools. You know what?
Everything zero.
And if I was the orphan, I would say, you know what, I didn't slap you on your hand and asked you when I was a baby to take me and take care of me. You took care of me out of your own goodness and because you want to get closer to Allah. You didn't take care of me so that I could be grateful and thankful to you.
Exactly.
So it is the same thing that you said, that you're expecting something in return. When you do something for the sake of God, it should be purely for the sake of God.
Yeah, there is an ayah in Quran that, you know, we feed you without anything in return, or even without thanks from you.
Yes,
this
don't
is
expect thank you from someone. You know,
See,
just do it for the sake of Allah.
This is very delicate issue, because here you have this mountain full of good deeds and you just multiply them by zero after 5 years or 10 years after raising the orphan.
They evaporate.
And all this becomes zero. And you don't even know about it. This is very scary. Okay, next one is visit the graveyards. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, remember death, which is the destroyer of all pleasures.
Yes.
Okay, so that will keep things in perspective, and you will be encouraged to invest in your hereafter. You want, like you were saying when we were coming here, you're looking for a long-term investment with an amazing ROI. Okay, you're not looking for something short-term for a 1 year or 5 years, especially knowing you don't even know if you're going to be here we don't know if we're going to be here for 5 years or 2 years. So wisdom dictates that we should do something for our eternal abode, where we're going to go. So we should have something there for us.
You know, once I was talking to one of my friends and he was telling me about a special graveyard where only dedicated people who are buried there. So I asked him a sarcastic question and said, you know, what are the privileged there? What do they have? Do they have a living room in this graveyard? Do they have a golden bathroom or what? It's just soil. It's the same. Whether you're buried in this graveyard or that graveyard, it doesn't make a difference. You know, and people don't remember. Actually, people don't remember. You know, we have a lot of relatives who have been buried in the graveyard, and out of the wisdom of God, we are not allowed to put monuments and names and tombs.
All those things,
So when you go to the graveyard, for the people who have never been to the graveyard, it's just a bunch of stones.
You can't even recognize.
You can't recognize, oh, where's my dad buried? Where's my mom? You can't.
Exactly.
And equality is like, even when you die, it's equality.
Exactly. And these are teachings of Islam, I mean.
So whether you are buried in a 5-star graveyard or a 2-star graveyard, it doesn't make a difference.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you're going to die.
Exactly. You're going to just take your faith, authentic faith and good deeds with you. Deeds that you did for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with sincerity, with right intentions, and not for showing off. Next one is, I want to briefly touch upon this thing before we move to the next point. That there is a concept of servant leadership, which is very hot nowadays. You know, you find a lot of material on the internet,
and maybe a lot of people haven't heard about it. So please, Hamid, introduce it to it.
Let's just compare the two real quick. Again, this is in context of serving others. Traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid. Okay, by comparison, the servant leadership shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. So in other simple words, a leader doesn't produce followers, a leader produces leaders. Okay, and this is, by the way, the model which was exercised by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And within his short span of time, he created amazing leadership that even after he passed away, they did some amazing things, and you know, the historical books are full of them.
You mentioned something very important, which is putting the interest of others before yours. I have a friend who works in one of the companies, and for many years he's not been promoted. The HR have not been doing their job in promoting him. So he went to his boss, the big man, and he said, you know, boss, I haven't been promoted like for 7 years, and as part of the system, I should have been promoted by now. And the response that he got from the boss was even worse than not being promoted. His boss said, listen, I am also fighting for my promotion, and until I get mine, then I'll start looking at yours.
Okay.
So my promotion comes first before yours. And my friend said, oh my God. What did I do
so
in this
you-
world?
your friend said, I can't wait for hell to freeze over.
Yeah, man. If the boss is thinking of his own promotion,
Uh-huh.
and then he will think of the people under him, then
That's
la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah.
Exactly. All right. The next point, which I will say is pretty much the final point here in terms of the cures. If you want to serve others and you're looking. What
No,
to
you
do.
you didn't tell us about the servant.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much
You
it.
told us about the normal traditional leadership.
No, traditional leadership is like where one person accumulates all the power,
Mhm.
and he or she exercises that power by hook or by crook.
And the other one?
And he keeps everybody as a follower. It's like he's on the top of the pyramid.
Mm.
And the other one is where servant leader shares power.
Okay.
Okay, puts the needs of others first and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. So he gets some at such a level that even if he's not there in the future, the setup will still move forward
Okay. Now it's
aggressively.
clear.
Yeah. Next one, which is the most important one because it is mentioned in Quran as well, is that we need to read the stories of charitable people and find modern day mentors so we can spend some time in their company if possible. If not, become a mentor ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to mention the point of being wealthy.
Mhm.
I forgot this in the beginning. I said we are not against being wealthy.
Yeah.
It's a very healthy phenomenon
Mhm.
that everybody in the society becomes wealthy.
Mhm.
But the intention of being wealthy, I don't want to be wealthy for the sake of me.
Yeah.
I want to be wealthy for the sake of others.
Yeah.
So that I can change in the society. I can build things that would serve society.
Exactly.
And we take example of our companions of the Prophet ﷺ,
Sallallahu, yeah.
like Uthman bin Affan
Yeah.
in Medina. He was one of the wealthiest companions. If you compare the wealth of Uthman at that time with
Mhm.
today's value, it would be like trillions.
Mhm.
That's his wealth.
Mhm.
So what he did, the Muslims in Medina they were struggling to have resources of water,
Mhm.
drinking water, because the well was owned by the Jews, and they were charging very high fees for Muslims to drink from the well. So Uthman bin Affan paid like triple or four times the value of that well, and he bought it
Mhm.
from the Jews, and he kept it open for the Muslims and anyone else who wants to drink from this.
Exactly.
This is the example that we want in our society, where the wealthy are doing projects for the sake of Allah
Yeah,
subhanahu wa
they
ta'ala.
had vision.
And this enables them to become even more and more
Exactly,
wealthy.
exactly.
We don't remember in the Islamic history that Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan died out of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
The more he gave,
The more Allah
gave him.
Exactly.
And today we have examples of some wealthy people in our society. They give and they give and they give, and you see their industries just expanding.
Mhm.
While those who are keeping the millions in the Swiss bank accounts and under their pillows, suddenly you hear someone is bankrupt.
The currencies devalue, something
Yes,
happened,
yes.
and the whole thing is gone. Yeah, exactly. So here, again, when we are talking about spending wealth for others, two things are important. First, how you made that money, and second, how you spend that money. You cannot be, I'm sorry to say, not sorry, but you cannot be Robin Hood where you rob the rich and feed the poor. It doesn't
Yes.
work like that. So here it's mentioned in Quran. This is Surah Al-Hashr, that's 59 verse 9. Those who adapted the abode and faith before them love those who migrated to them, and they find no need in their souls for what the migrants were given. They give preference to others over themselves, even though they have serious needs.
Subhanallah.
Whoever can ward off the stinginess within his soul, they will be successful ones. Now this is the relationship between Muhajirin and Ansar. There is no other example in the history of mankind which can beat this example, where one companion was attached with another companion. When they were forced to migrate from Mecca, they left all their worldly possessions and they barely made it to Medina. And then Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he made them like he paired them as brothers in Islam.
And the people of Medina shared half of what they had
Exactly.
with their brothers.
Exactly. There's one story of a companion where he said, look, I have two wives, and if you like, I can divorce one and you can marry her. And this companion, he said, no, just show me where is the local market. I'll go and I'll do trading and I'll make money. So out of this example, we can also see that if somebody offers you a hand, don't bite his arm off.
Yes.
Okay, don't become a parasite. So there should be some kind of a balance. If you start becoming parasite, next time he will not help you. and he will not help others also, because that experience will be stuck to him.
And also, Muhammad, let us address this to those who are needy. Don't take advantage of the people who are helping you, because you might find people who are needy, but they have received resources from many places, and they yet ask.
Yeah.
They yet ask. They
are in the cycle of greed also.
Yeah, don't be selfish.
Yeah.
If you have got your portion and it's enough, allow that portion to go to someone else as well, who is less in need than you.
I want to connect something real quick before we run out of time. What Ahmad also mentioned and you stated about middle class.
Yes.
There is so much truth into this thing. Like as an example, we've seen the example of the Muhajirin and Ansar.
Yes.
Now if we fast forward to 2018, 19, 20, whatever is going on with the refugees and the global crisis of refugees, and we see it on the TV and we read about it, which is the highest in the history of mankind. It has never been so many refugees, which are made homeless and resourceless. Poor countries are the one which are connected to them the most.
So,
some of the Western civilized countries, who by the way are responsible directly or indirectly in creating creating these crises.
Yes.
And they make their political career. Oh, look, immigrants are coming, and there's going to be Islamized Europe, and look at these Muslims coming over here and taking over.
Well, they're the one who instigated the war.
If you look at the official statistics from UNHCR. If you look at the top 5 countries which are taking refugees, and I'm talking about millions, not hundreds and thousands, okay, 4 out of 5, 4 are Muslim lands. You never see them complain and scream in the media that look, we are poor, and now we have taken 3 million other XYZ and all that. This is the leftover of the example set by the Muhajirin and the Ansar. It's still in our DNA. And it's with humility we say that the world can learn a lot from this and benefit the masses.
And when you accept these refugees into your homes, especially the ones who are going to Europe, don't treat them like trash.
Oh yeah.
You open your doors and then you treat them so bad.
They are abused,
as if
they're put in cages.
Yeah, you have done a favor to them.
Yeah.
You haven't done a favor to them. This is your obligation, your moral obligation to help these people. Because if you look at the political arena, these major countries, they are the ones who instigated these problems in the countries of the refugees.
Exactly. It serves their criteria and their motives politically, and a lot of them end up serving them economically. But if a few commit crime, it's all over headlines. Look, refugees are raping our women.
Yes. And I think, Muhammad, we have 1 last minute. The one thing I want to say is that those nations which are stealing resources from other nations and then feeding them with the same resources,
but very little,
like in Africa. They steal all the resources, the oil, the diamonds, the minerals and agriculture, and then they come as peacemakers, and they come there and they feed them grain, and they say, we are doing good to humanity and we're feeding them out of starvation.
I wonder if they are delusional or they are evil or they are both.
Well, we'll leave the answer to them.
Okay, I have final word, if I have your permission.
Yes, please go.
Is basically, the message to all humanity, that's Muslims and people of other faith also, is worship your Creator God Almighty the way He has decided for you, and serve His creation the way He has decided for you, because serving His creation is another form of worship. And be greedy and invest in your hereafter by investing in this dunya, this world.
Thank you very much, Muhammad Farooq, and see you tomorrow, inshallah, with another episode. Thank you very much for everyone who has tuned in to the program. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.